I think we've started.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio. Patricia and David with you again at 7:15 on the dot this morning. This frequency has been ours for a while. Fortunately, the Japanese and other Asian fishermen. Well, good morning, Diego.
Good morning.
It looks like your report said it was 15 knots from the east, so that will be a good day to have a very pleasant sail by the look of it. 25 degrees up there, and that's not all that much more than here, everybody. We have 20 degrees here. Again, it's just been amazing. If you looked at the satellite picture and the synoptic chart, you would think we were having very dreadful weather. But it's been beautiful. Yesterday it was another outside clean up the garden ready for winter day. The barometer here at the moment is 1013 and slightly dropping. We have a very mild 5 knots from the north-northeast, and it's light enough now to see that there is that hanging around strata cube, but 90% cloud cover. Very different just down the road though, in the Bay of Plenty this morning. They're dealing with floods between 3 and 4 a.m. this morning. They had 44 millimetres of rain, and in the 8-hour period till 5 o'clock this morning, 105 millimetres. The frontal band is just sort of down the eastern side of the country. I haven't had any reports from the Whangarei area, but I would say they've missed it too. So anyway, that's what we have at the moment. It's very isolated, the rain, and hopefully we'll have a dry day today for what we need to do. Okay, thanks for the report. Obviously we're getting into Fiji. It's always good to hear somebody call in. Thank you. You two get up pretty promptly in the morning. There's the only one that's actually reported in this morning on the YIT site. Let me just give you a bit of an update for anybody that's listening on streaming. I will put this on the website shortly, but my new friend at Tonga Customs, we have got a very good relation now. You will know that we struggled last year to get sets out of the Tonga folk, but they've really come through this year, and all seems sorted for those boats that want to spend the full season in Tonga. We have an email address. It's the man's first name, actually. So he's a very friendly fellow. Fonu is his name, but his full name, first name, is Feli Fonu at customs.gov.to. Anything to do with yachts goes to him. So if you want to put in an application to extend your time in Tonga for the yacht, which only gets 4 months on entry, he's the man. If you want to send in your pre-arrival information, he's the man. Foxtrot Echo Lima Echo Foxtrot Oscar November Uniform Feli Fonu, and he's the man at Tonga Customs. So it's very good to have finally a very good contact. Not a very chatty one. His replies are very brief but very clear. All right, is there anybody else that wants to tell us where they are? I have a question for David whilst we are talking. We have a question from another David, actually. Please identify what times the computer runs are based closest on real-time data, and what runs are their forecasts. Hope you can make sense of that. You can read it over my shoulder here on streaming if you don't. And Anahata is leaving for Fiji on Thursday, so he's ready to roll, and I think David's going to be talking about the passage situation shortly. I'll just do a pause to see if there's anybody else. Oh, there's somebody there, and I've got a bit of a whistle on the frequency, but try again, please. Oh, good. I've had you before, so we know who you are. I actually messed up your name before, but to go ahead, over. Okay, I know you're in Vanuatu, but I missed your actual position. Just give me the name of the island would be the easiest thing for me to be able to hear. It's not a very good copy yet. Give me the name of the island in Vanuatu, over. Yeah, not picking that up. Diego, are you copying whereabouts they are, over? No, okay. Well, what I'll ask David to do is do Vanuatu when he gets to the weather. Just let me know, are you in the north or the south? And repeat that twice, over. Can't hear anything now. The boat in Vanuatu, could you please tell me whether you are in the north or the south of Vanuatu? Slow flight, let me know north or south. No, just not getting. All I need is the north or south of Vanuatu, over. Could I have a relay from anyone? Oh, thank you. It's good to have Pilgrim back in the system. I hope Suva's treating you well. Go ahead, over. Oh, God, Erromango. That's right. That's where they were heading. Thank you very much. I'll just ask David if he wants to cover that now or wait till the weather. Now or the weather.
I'll do it now.
He wants to know for the next couple of days, probably going north.
All right, we're looking at about lunchtime today, and good old Erromango. It looks like northeast winds to me. I'd say about 10 to 15 knots, and actually that direction holds about halfway up to Efate. I assume you're going north to Efate. So Efate would be east-northeast, about the same. Looking at, well, let's just go to let's go to dinner time and see what's happening then, maybe a little bit after. And it looks like the winds are veering just a little bit. They'll be essentially east-northeast right at the bottom part of Erromango, but as you clear the island, they'll go easterly for a little bit. Then as you get between Erromango and Efate, anywhere between east and east-northeast, but light air. 10 to 15 knots, maybe favoring 15. And in Efate, once you get there, well, it's light once you get inside, but offshore Efate, east-northeast, about 10, 15 knots. So that's looking at late. So we'll look at tomorrow. We'll look at tomorrow at lunch. And wind shift a bit tomorrow. They start to go southeast. Just about maybe 5 to 10 knots in the Erromango area, and stays all the way up to Efate. And a few days we'll go to Thursday, and Thursday the winds veer even more, definitely southeast, might even be southeast, Erromango up to Efate. Hopefully that covers it. Over.
Yeah, it sounds like if I was going, I would wait a day to get those southeast winds for heading in that direction. It can be a little bit rough between Erromango and Efate, but good fishing though if you're towing the line.
Fairly.
30 light, says David. All right. I'm glad you talked about the weather because I tell you what, the news today, I searched the CNN and I searched the newspaper, and there's really not an awful lot of nice news to talk about. As you probably know, the US opened their Jerusalem consulate or embassy yesterday, and of course they expected a lot of trouble, and trouble there was. I think the death toll is now up to about 57 the last time I checked. So there is a lot of dead in Gaza and a lot more wounded in Gaza as they tried to control the Palestinian crowds that took exception to the Jerusalem embassy being opened. And again, I mentioned yesterday in Surabaya on the east coast of Java, they have had another family bomb a target, this time a police station. I think they're going to have to get used to that because evidently there are about 600 Indonesians who have been in Syria training with the usual mob and have come back again. But here's some strange news. In Canada, on the west coast, evidently in the last 10 years, there's been the odd foot show up on the shore. Well, believe it or not, there was another one showed up yesterday. That's the 40 foot. Not with anything else, and they didn't say what sort of shoe it was, but most of them have been in either jogging shoes or boots, and it is a real mystery on the west side of Canada.
I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't buy those boots.
You wouldn't buy those boots, no. All right, so that's about as much as I could get of reasonable news. Of course, the big news this week is going to be the royal wedding and the budget. If you're a New Zealander, the budget is on. Our dollar is quite weak at the moment, so anybody up there in the various marinas and so on who's not from New Zealand, good time to pay your bill because whatever money you have will be worth more than it was a month ago when you swap it for New Zealand dollars on your bill. All right, there's a few people, David, are looking at a Thursday departure, obviously
We'll talk about it.
getting desperate, so he's definitely going to talk about that. And I will do one call more and then we'll get on to it because I know people are interested. Anybody else?
Althea.
Oh, Althea, and you guys are in an interesting spot. Is it Althea or Anthea? I just didn't hear that quite correctly, I think. Over.
Either is fine. We say Althea. Over.
You are booming in, and I had a look at where you're tucked into Raoul Island this morning. Good little spot. Looks like you could actually get tucked in even more based on the Google picture. But you are probably wondering when these north-northeast winds are going to abate. Is that your question? Over?
Yes, Patricia, that is our question. Over.
Yeah, well, you certainly, well, you're in a good spot there. We were talking about it, propped up in bed this morning, thinking it might be a little bit of a wraparound swell there. They are, folks, for those that are interested, tucked into the southeast side of Raoul Island. It's actually called Boat Cove. They've got cloudy weather with squalls, north-northeast winds of 15 to 20 knots because of that big high that's slowly trying to be pushed by all this frontal systems that we've got here. And they've got a 1.5 metre northeast sea there with a bit of, probably a little bit uncomfortable. And David is just showing me exactly where you are under the satellite picture. What is your, it says he's mostly cloudy, and I would agree with that. It looks like 100% on the satellite picture. I guess we'll start with talking about that, and then David will go on to the weather. Here he is.
Well, you didn't tell us how much cloud you have, but we could guess looking at the satellite imagery. That's the frontal band, and it's going to move off of your location. Fortunately, I would say sometime, let me back this up here. I would say just after lunch tomorrow. Now, your clue on when this is going to be all over is when you get your wind shift. So it'll go from that northwest, north to northwest, and then suddenly go to a westerly quadrant, maybe even southwest. And when it does that, then that frontal band is gone, and you won't have to worry about. And that's when you could take off. So to me, that looks like late tomorrow. It could be earlier, but tomorrow sometime. So is that what you need? Over.
Yes, that's exactly what we need. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, your signal is fantastic. You'll have to let us know tomorrow how it goes. All right, well, good morning, everybody else. I think everybody has a pretty good idea of what's happening in the upper levels, so I'm going to update the data tomorrow. I'm going to leave it alone for today.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw. Listen to this, girl. You could learn something, you know. Okay, so we will look instead at the synoptic picture. We've got yachts already on passage. Most of them are up near the island. Some have already got there. We have a few that are heading east as well. So by lunch today, the Tasman Depression, this is the one that's had the news now, right, for a few days, it's a little more than halfway to New Zealand. Very, very slow going. The estimated center is going to be 3.5 and 1.65 east, and an occluded front is going to lie over New Zealand around the Cook Strait area by lunchtime today. A number of troughs are in Caledonia. Now, don't get nervous about subtropical depression. It's going to disappear. But from this little low, though, a trough extends to New Caledonia itself and then on to the Coral Sea. Now, for those of you that are heading to French Polynesia, we do have a trough that stands in your way there. In fact, I'll give you two coordinates. You connect these two positions, and that's pretty much the axis of the trough. So the first position is 15 and 160 east, 15, 160, and the other one is 28 and 140 west. So connect those two, and that's more or less what the axis is, according to the satellite picture here. Now our high, that's very slow moving. 1028 central pressure, it's a strong one, and it's centered near 32 and 165 west, and it's not going very fast either. It's not exactly stationary or blocking, but it's very slow. Ridging toward Fiji. Now by Wednesday, the high is going to move just a little bit east to about 160 west, so not very far. And the low that we've been talking about will be about 995 millibar. It will be over New Zealand finally, again near the Cook Strait area. Now on Thursday, the 17th, the eastern high moves a little bit more to about 155 west, and it's still fairly strong at 1027 millibar, 1027. Now the New Zealand low very, very quickly shifts to the southeast. It goes to roughly 47 and the date line, 47 south and the date line. Now, on this date, Thursday, the high that formed in the Australian Bight, we talked about that yesterday, it's a strong one, that moves just slightly east, not very far, but it becomes stronger yet at about 1036, 1036, and it tries to ridge toward New Caledonia. Now, that's a real powerful high. Is it going to move? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. So, that Thursday is very tempting to call this a window, Thursday into Friday, right in there. But hold on just a minute here. By late Friday into Saturday, our giant high, if you will, doesn't go anywhere. We thought it was going to be moving east. The ridge that's in the Tasman is going to narrow. It's going to get thinner, if you will, as a trough slips north onto the Tasman Sea. So on Saturday, the winds up to 30 south are going to be northwesterly, but above that, roughly 25 south, we have northerly quadrant. So that's not very good, but that doesn't last very long. Those northerlies are just going to be for about a day. In fact, those that are going to New Caledonia or Vanuatu, they look okay because I don't think those northerlies are going to affect those routes. So you'll be, I think, pretty good for going to those locations. But those of you that are going to Fiji and Tonga, you will have a bit of a poor spell if you go on Thursday. But then, shortly after that, you'll have easterlies all the way up to the islands, Tonga and Fiji. So if you don't get off on Thursday, whether you can't, don't want to, whatever, we're looking at Sunday the 20th. Now that ridge from the west does finally move east a bit. So this may be a go as well, Sunday the 20th. But then what happens is virtually the same thing that happens to the first ridge. It narrows and troughing conditions again cover New Zealand. So once more northwest winds up to 30 south, then a motor up to 25, and then the winds become east-southeast to southeast. So the wind origin, by the way, from those east-southeast to southeast winds are actually from the high to the east, not the Australian high. So it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. Those are fairly good direction winds. So that may be okay too. So on a scale, well, let's put a scale of 1 to 5. I'd give these windows about a 2.5, whether you go Thursday into Friday or whether you wait to Sunday. They're not great windows, but if you're primed and raring to go, you can do it. You'll hit the light spots, you'll hit maybe some headwinds, but once you get north a bit, then the wind should be okay. So those two departure chances are there, Thursday, Friday, or Sunday. Again, neither of them are great. We'll look at it again tomorrow, being Wednesday. So that gives a day in the bag, if you will, and we'll see what's changed, if anything. Again, it's the upper levels that are the culprits here. So we'll touch base with the uppers again tomorrow morning, and we'll look again as to whether Thursday is okay, or whether you should wait till Sunday, or whether or not you should just read a book. Okay, now our yachts that are going east, they are roughly, there's two of them, they're about 28 and 156 west. They're not currently having a great time of it due to the wind direction. The winds today look like east-southeast and maybe southeast, 20 knots in the mean, gusts are higher. As that high builds behind or front, it's a frontal band just to the east of where those two boats are. Now these fresh winds are going to remain right through Wednesday. Then they're going to back a little bit to become easterlies on Thursday. That's not so good either. They may remain easterlies for quite a few days, in fact. And in addition, we've got a quasi-stationary front that runs west-east at about 24 south. So the winds north of 24 are 20-knot easterlies, and below the front, the frontal band, are 20-knot east-southeasterlies. So not very good directions, I'm afraid. But anyway, the yachts are handling it. They're doing more tacking than they ever wanted to do. But that's life when you're making a passage of 17 or 18 days. Okay, looking quickly now at Tonga. Scattered cloud is pretty obvious on satellite imagery. The winds are fresh and strong there. East to east-southeast, 20 knots for the Hapais. About stronger yet, I think 25 knots. Tomorrow, easterlies, 15 to 20, and I think they're going to be favoring the high side. Broken cloud over Fiji this morning. There's a few scattered showers here and there. Fiji Met has issued a strong wind warning for all waters. Expect easterlies 20 to 25 knots. out in the open water, rough seas, and a moderate southeast swell. And more of the same tomorrow. For Vanuatu, the satellite loop shows cloud breaks, then bands of cloud come through, then we have breaks again, and then more bands. So it's like that. Much of the cloud is coming from the New Zealand frontal band that's nearly over New Caledonia right now. Winds east to east-northeast in the northern areas, but northeast from Erromango to Inishewen. I think I gave a bit of detail earlier. Newcastle, I'm afraid, is under the influence of a frontal band. The winds on the north side of Grand Tier are northerly quadrant, but in the southern lagoon, our area, they're essentially east-southeast, around 15 knots in the mean. By dinner, the winds are going to veer to south-southeast, about 10 to 15 knots. So anybody thinking about
what they've got now.
They got that now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. So that scratch is going to yield the pan, if that was what you were thinking about doing. Plus the weather's not so red hot. Anyway, tomorrow expect definitely southeast in the 15-knot range. However, 20 to 25 if you're between Havana Pass and the Loyalties, if you were thinking about going to the Loyalties, a little rough. And that's all I've got right now. I wish I can give you better news on departure. It's not a grim window. I would tell you if it was grim. It's just not a particularly good one. So tomorrow we'll go into it in more detail, and we'll be looking at taking off on Thursday or Sunday. So any questions, comments, come down.
And as David, I just mentioned to David, Serraning have reported it is, in fact, in Frony, south-southeast 15 to 20 at the moment, with 100% cloud cover, and it looks like they won't be heading to Yate in a day or so. They might have to give it a couple more days there. Whistler have reported it more pleasant, however, at Cousteau, just south of Sabu there. It's calm, overcast, 1014.3 on the bar, and then 25 degrees like it is in Suva. So that's all sounds pretty good in Fiji. All right, just for those that are on air, we had a question come in which we've answered on streaming, but we'll give the microphone back to David.
Okay, well the question, let's see, the question says what times that the computer runs are based closest to real time. I think what he's asking is, what do you look at on your computer model that is supposed to be the closest to the current conditions? I believe that's what's being asked. And then what are the run times? Well, the runs are 4 times a day, usually. Sometimes only two times a day. It depends on what model that you're looking at. As an example, NavGem is just 2 times a day. GFS and EC, they're 4 times, but they're 00 Zulu, 1200 Zulu, 0600 Zulu, and 1800 Zulu. Now again, we've talked about this before. The 00 and the 12 are based on actual conditions, and this information comes from balloon launches, satellite data, actual reports from airports, on and on. Whereas the 06 and the 1800 are not based on real data, they're based on computer moved data from the 00 and the 12. So if you had a choice of what models you were going to pick the 00 and the 1200. Now, what I told everybody is to look at your 00 time on the model run. That 00 time is supposedly what the current conditions are. So look out the window and then look at your model. If they agree, then that's great. You can have some faith in what comes next. But if they're totally out of whack, then you're going to have to wonder if the rest of the model is going to be correct for your area. Now, it could be just your area is not accurate, so that doesn't mean the whole model is a throwout. So keep that in mind. But if there are errors in the beginning of the run, then those errors accumulate and they make the rest of the information worse and more worse and so forth and so on. So it just gets much more grim as the times roll on for the model. So look at your 00, look out the window and see if it's pretty close. It should be. So I think that was the question.
Yep, and worthwhile repeating. And just before we finish, just some admin information. Our email address here has changed, so make sure you have our current email address. It's ghradio@extra, which is xtra.co.nz. Of course, everything you get back from here will probably be the house address, which is Chameleon House. I mentioned that because if you are coming in on WinLink, you'll need to whitelist the Chameleon House at extra.co.nz as well. All right, and David's got one other thing. Hang on.
Oh yes, back to that question. And the reason that we like to have your reports is that if you give them to us first thing in the morning, then all of you could look at your model and look at where the location is of the person that gave the report, and then you can get a good feel for different locations about the model, and then that will give you a better feel one way or the other about that particular run. Okay, back to the chief.
And it also, in a real promptly, as we have a couple that come in, David does check what he's got and prepared to make sure that it is in line with what's going on. So we do value those reports. All right, is there anybody else with any question before we depart? Nothing heard, so good morning everybody. We will be back again at 7:15 New Zealand time again tomorrow. Meanwhile, have a good day. Those people that are getting ready to go, hope everything's working in good working order, and we will be back again tomorrow with the latest update. Cheers everybody, the frequency 8752 is all yours.